What's the most common greeting you receive when you're shopping for clothes or appliances or groceries? If it's, "Can I help you?" well, you're not alone. It's time for us to bring our businesses out of the dark ages of "Can I help you?" and into the world of customer-friendly greetings. And I'm here to help you. I'm Jon Quade, the 5-Minute Coach. From the outside looking in, you may think the greeting is pretty automatic when shoppers visit a motorcycle dealership. Well, not so much. In fact, at some stores, it's perfectly normal for customers to meander all alone. Maybe we assume they're looking for accessories or apparel, or they're just in for service. But because of the nature of our products, we should never fall into the assumption trap. The truth is, as a rider, I want to be recognized and taken seriously, even invited to consider trading up, whether I happen to be in the market or not. Seriously, are riders ever really out of the market? The week after I picked up my new Road Glide, I was on Cycle Trader looking for a smaller around-town bike. What do we call them? Grocery getter? So let's start by leveling the playing field. The greeting in sales or service is the shopper's first real impression of your dealership. They may have visited your website or phoned or emailed the store, but outside of the matrix, digital still doesn't have the impact of face-to-face. Second, you only have one chance to do it well. We've all heard that you only get one shot at a first impression. If you mess up, you're going to spend the next 30 minutes wishing you hadn't. So get it right the first time. Number 3, the greeting is an acknowledgement and a welcome. When customers physically walk into your showroom, you need to greet them well and promptly. Even if you can't get to them right away, at very least acknowledge their presence. Welcome in. We'll be right with you. Make yourself at home. That sort of a thing. Okay, now let's talk about how you present yourself. At the greeting, well, really throughout the whole process, of course you want to make sure you're professional. I visited a motorcycle dealership not long ago, and within 2 minutes, the salesperson who greeted me was swearing a blue streak. Now look, I'm no angel in that department. I do a podcast entitled Potty Mouths. But at what point do you automatically assume it's okay to start dropping F-bombs with a customer? It reminded me of the time I took a friend of mine who happens to be a pastor to a golf outing, and a guy from high school stopped by and said hi. That may have been the last word he said that didn't have cursing attached to it. I kept glancing over at Pastor Craig, and he just grinned because he knew how uncomfortable I was and that I wanted to blow his cover, but he wouldn't let me, damn it. Sorry. In hindsight, it makes for good teaching, though. Never assume it's okay not to act professionally. Next, you want to be enthusiastic. Not crazy or anything, but if you're normally like about here, try to move it up to about here. Not a big difference, but any move in that direction will have a big impact on your customers. We also want to be helpful and appear confident. Now, if you've been in sales for a long time, just put your focus on 1 or 2 of these qualities to help you move to the next level, because everyone has a next level, even you, even me. If you're new to sales, some of these things may seem a little uncomfortable, but if you work the plan with every customer, it'll get easier before you know it. One study I've quoted often states that 93% of a shopper's first impression comes from visual input, which drives home an important point. People will judge you based on what they see when you greet them. Some people might say, well, that's not fair. They shouldn't jump to conclusions based on appearance. And that may be true. But the reality is, in the first few seconds, everyone forms an impression based on visual input, whether you like it or not. So rather than focusing on things we can't control, let's highlight what we can, like, say, smiling and using good eye contact when you greet people. Not creeper eye contact, but be attentive. Once we've passed the customer's visual inspection, the verbal part comes into play. There are a lot of effective ways to greet people verbally. My go-to is usually something like this. Welcome in. How are you today? Simple but easy. And remember, if you're unable to help them immediately, you still need to acknowledge them. Hey, welcome in. I'll be right with you. Make yourself at home. Then when you're available, just follow up with a simple question like, how may I help? How may I assist today? That flows seamlessly into interviewing questions, which make up the next step in our sales process. When people come into your showroom, don't be hesitant to approach them. You have every right to ask how you might help them. It's not like what you do there is a secret. You see all the bikes on the floor, right? There aren't many people who go into a fast food restaurant and say, I'm just looking. They're there for a reason, and the same is true of your customers. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to hear, I'm just looking, and that's fine. One of my favorite replies to that is, awesome, who's the lucky one who gets the new bike? The point is, people always do one thing before they buy. They look. So don't let that brush off push you away. If you've ever been in a car dealership, greeting customers there can be a challenge because people typically don't want to be there, whether they're in for sales or service. I'm in a completely different mindset when I'm at a motorcycle shop because even if I'm in for service, I usually want to be there. And I want to talk about bikes and riding and bugs in my teeth. So sales greetings are generally welcomed more here than if you were selling Priuses. But no matter how shoppers behave when you greet them, here's something to think about. One of my favorite trainers, Jim Rohn, once said, what happens to you is not important. What you do with what happens to you is all that matters. That's a pretty cool challenge, isn't it? If you think about it, it doesn't just apply to sales either. What you do with what happens to you throughout your life really is all that matters. It's ironic that we devote an entire 5-minute coach segment to greeting, since the actual greeting with the customer only takes about 5 or 10 seconds. Most of the job is in preparation, like watching this video, for example. Hopefully you're walking away with 2 or 3 things you can use with your very next greeting. I'm Jon Quade. See ya!